Welcome to Mending the Hoop. My name is Sherri Jones. Thank you for joining us. Well, my show this time is of another adventure that I had taken. I took an adventure to the Monona Terrace to see the display of bittersweet winds that was put on by Richie Plass of the Menominee Nation. Richie has, I believe, probably close to about 300 items of Native American imagery and much Native American false imagery put on by whites in the past. And it consists mostly of logos, mascots, and labels. While looking at the displays that Richie had, I came across this very, very large mascot that looks to be, I would expect, about 8 feet tall. And I said to Richie, I said, "What is this?" He said, "It's a mascot." I said, "No, I mean, what is it?" I mean, it looks like some kind of animal. And he said, "I don't know." He said, "But it's still being used in ball games, and to them it's supposed to be an Indian, a Native American person." And I said, "Jeez." I mean, when I looked at it, I said there was nothing at all Native American about it. It was wearing a fur suit that was supposed to represent a Native American outfit, and it was fur suit, and it had fringe pieces like about this long, and which is not anything Native American, because fringe isn't that way, and there's purposes for fringe. And you hardly ever see fringe on a fur suit. And looked at the face had all these huge facial features with no forehead and bushy eyebrows. And this thing, had this suit on, this furry suit, like it was some kind of furry beast. And I started thinking, actually, in reality, Native Americans have less body hair than most other ethnic cultures. So I thought, well, this is really strange that somebody would make something like this and display it as being Native American when it has nothing Native American about it. Well, Richie has this display, so he decided, that he was just going to give him a name, and he named him Wolfman. So this display was out, and it was catching the attention of a lot of people who were walking by and looking at it, wondering what it was. And Richie would tell them that it was a mascot, and people were just amazed that it was that somebody would actually use it in a ball game. And it's extremely fraudulent, and it's also these type of people who display these strange things at ball games are really obnoxious, and they're really ignorant. So basically, I hope that someday soon this type of behavior will stop. I did some filming of it and some pictures for for people to see what it looked like from head to toe, and also down on the feet it has like some X marks that go around it. Well, I don't know if anybody would put anything like that, any Native person would put anything like that on their feet. It's just really a strange thing.
The article is called "Whatever Happened to the Indian Guy," and so it talks about this guy who used to go camping, and I guess while he was camping, he met some Indian guy. So it's nice and a bunch of stuff, and this guy lived in the same world. I guess the guy was coming to basically said, so we taught people how to be Indian Yeah, because, well, they just arbitrarily picked it, and that's what I'm saying. Because you brought up a great point that I used with a class yesterday in UW Milwaukee. And what I said was, all right, and I told the teacher, I said, I just want to try and prove a point real quick. So I pointed to a girl, I said, excuse me, I said, what's your name? She said, Maggie. I said, Maggie, do you know your ethnic background? She said, I'm Irish. All right, everybody, here's the deal. Maggie, I said, and I don't mean to disrespect you. I want to use you for an example. So I pointed at the big banner, the University of Milwaukee campus. I said, that's the name of your school, and it's the logo here, correct? I said, Maggie, what if you got home one day, a big package of mail from this university? You open it up, and all of a sudden there's a letter sent to you from the athletic director, school administrator, whoever. And it says, congratulations. We decided to change the name of our school from the Panthers to the Maggies because we want to honor you and your Irish tradition. And all of a sudden you open up and there's a caricature, it's a cartoon picture, it's supposed to be you. It's an ugly old woman, big barn, old up teeth, scraggly hair.
Looks like a
And she
witch.
went, and she was standing there. I said, now, would you be honored? She went, I don't think so. Then one more step, I said. All of a sudden, your picture is on jerseys, t-shirts, jackets, it's on the basketball floor. And when they sell them jerseys, when they sell them hats and all that stuff, guess what, Peggy? You won't see one PB. And I said, so everybody, and she sat there, and all of a sudden, when the class was done, the teacher said, no, brilliant. Made them think. And that's all I'm trying to do is to make them think.
Yeah.
Because I tell them with the Cleveland Indians, no one ever came to our house and asked my mom and dad to say, hey, we're going to name this team the Indians. So what do you think about it? They just did it. Because I taught at Kent State. I led the Native American department and I taught at Kent State. So I wrote a letter to the Cleveland Indians and I said, could you send a representative from your baseball team to my class to explain to me and my students how and why me and other Native people should feel honored with Chief Wahoo? And they never wrote back. So then my boss, the department head, she wrote to them and they never wrote back. So I wrote a third letter. I said, look, you haven't responded to 2 letters, so what about this? In a 12-month calendar year, why don't you take everything that you sell that has Chief Wahoo on it? Because if you look, I've got socks, I got hats, jersey, I got everything. Okay? So why don't you take everything that you sell that has Chief Wahoo on it and take 1/2 of 1%, set it aside, and make a scholarship fund for any Native student in Ohio who'd like to go to school. Well, they wrote back, and they said that would never happen because it would cut into their cash flow.
Yeah.
No, 'cause
Well,
it's
yeah, it would.
capitalism.
It would?
Yeah.
So again, it all comes to this. It always comes to this.
Well, and that's what the McQuantico thing that really frustrated me is these parents, the entitled, privileged
Yep.
parents who say, well, you're going to cost us taxpayers who can afford it. The extra, whatever, $2 increase on your property taxes it might cost to whatever. And I appreciate that, like, some of the educators, like, we're going to redo the basketball floor, we're not going to put the
Right.
logo. Like, they're getting there.
Right.
And don't put it on the new jerseys we order. So they're catching on. But, you know, like, to have those parents sue the district and say this is going to cost us money and this isn't how we want our money spent. Well, I don't want my taxes spent, you know, going to war either. But I don't get to decide that. You know, that's what the whole elected officials
When
are, you know?
I first read that in the paper,
Yeah.
well.
Right.
Well, isn't there a nation, Mohawk Nation, or one of the First Nations, that is actually, they have a fairly good income from some of their enterprises that are actually offering to support, like, Little League teams and others that are making this change?
Yeah.
I think they are actually offering to help fund that
Yeah.
transition.
The Oneida.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, because there was a team in New York, a high school team that was called the Redskins. They changed and they bought them all their new uniforms. Yeah.
Well, my husband always points out to it, like, it's in the big picture, high school mascot is, it doesn't matter. Change Marquette, and it's now, you know, they used to be the Warriors. I grew up with them being Warriors. Now they're Golden Eagles. Big deal. Who cares? It's just, you know, like, that's, I mean, but then that argument gets used against you, which is it's just a mascot. Who cares, you know?
When Kiwani made the change, and they changed on their own, and they changed to the Storm. So the next year they won the state football championship. And a lot of kids said, "Man, we should have changed the name like 10 years ago." Yeah. So and again, I've been doing this for so long. I hear so many different versions and so many different inputs. And I was just telling somebody before that I was talking about this dude here and some other stuff. And there's an Indian lady sitting there, and she come up and she stuck her head in and she said, "You said that very calmly." And she gave me a look like she was really. And she walked away. But again, I draw the line. I don't care what anybody says. I'll take anybody's opinion. And I always say this: I could bring in 5 Native Americans who don't agree with me. They think it's a waste of time. They have no problem with it. I never take it away from them. But I draw the line when somebody swears. When somebody swears, then
While walking around videoing some of the items, I took some notes on a few things. Some of the things that I saw, there was a ball team called the Chiefs, and had all the ball players were dressed in this phony Native American clothing, and underneath them was a name of a chief, a made-up chief's name of Chief so-and-so of each person of the ball game. And it had a mixture of different clothing, some paint on their faces and different stuff. And basically, when Native people wear particular things, they wear them for reasons. And none of the stuff that they were making made sense with, or that they were wearing, made sense with what they were displaying. You know, so there's this whole ball team. And, you know, and I'm suspecting that there's probably some of the ball players that probably didn't want to pose for this picture, but they probably, if they didn't, they would most likely get fired. It was probably mandatory that they do so. But so anyways, they have this big, Richie has a display of this big picture of these people. And then I also noticed on the wall, he has a big wall of that has a lot of different articles, newspaper articles and things. And then there was another team, and that was displaying things. And then it also showed some other people with them, and they were wearing pig noses. That was their display of Native Americans, was they were wearing pig noses. So basically, there's a lot of things about the ball games, like Wahoo. I call Chief Wahoo Yahoo. So I was saying, "Oh, Yahoo!" You know, is a Chief Wahoo. He's been out for quite a while, and he actually has white people teeth. Because most native people's teeth aren't shaped that way. You can ask any doctor, any dentist, any good genealogist that native people aren't like that. So they have this big smiley sharp teeth that they're straight, that just, and his mouth that comes out like this, you know. He's painted red. They even have them in Pez and in dice, fuzzy dice. It's really strange stuff. Here, you have a kid pop that head up there, so there's a Pez for you. Some really strange things, but anyways, and also with a feather. You know, Yahoo has a feather that sticks up in the back, you know. But not all natives wear a feather up in the back. There's a purpose to each person who wears feathers in whatever particular way, according to their tribe, according to their religious beliefs. So there's a reason for feathers, and there's also a reason for shapes of particular feathers too. Anyways, it's a lot of misrepresentation. I came across some drunken Indian salt and pepper shakers. This is some really strange stuff that people come up with, that they make up with to sell. Really weird things. They're old. They're vintage items, but. Anyways, then I saw another strange thing. Was a chocolate place was trying to sell their chocolate by putting a picture of a chocolate boy, which I believe, I don't know if it was a boy or a baby, but it was hard to tell if that was supposed to be an African American or Native American, but that's how they were selling it, was the chocolate, you know. And then there was also another thing that caught my eye too, was a Cherokee red cherry soda with a picture of what was supposed to be a native person, and I thought that was pretty odd. But Richie had pointed out to me that it didn't say Cherokee, it said Cherokee, and I had to go back and look again. I thought, oh my gosh, he said they did that so they don't get sued. But what happens is, like, people who are speed readers like myself, you just zip right through. A lot of times, you read the beginning and the end of the word, and it's like you had the whole word when you didn't, and there may be something in the middle you missed. And so right in there is how they did it. They put an I where the O is supposed to be to keep from being sued, but I guess they had to take it off the market. But it's a cherry red soda, and it has a red picture of what their native chieftain type of picture, like a lot of these things you see, this chief war bonnet stuff and whatever. But anyways, it says so basically I'm thinking, people are selling the chocolate thing, and then they're selling the red cherry thing, and I'm thinking, so I throw out the vanilla and have a chocolate covered cherry. Whatever. But anyways, there was another thing that caught my eye, was a Sleepy Eye cream by Old Sleepy Eye, where they had another phony native picture, and it, from the side, it's from the Sleepy Eye company, Sleepy Eye factory, and many years ago, when native people were pushed around from place to place, they were taken out of the normal environment that they were used to living in, where they had their medicines, and they were made sick by the whites, by the diseases they had, and also from being made to move into different environments that their bodies weren't immune to. So quite a few people got ill and quite a few died, but many who had allergies to the areas that they moved to didn't have any way to get any medicine. So a lot of them remained ill, which causes the bottoms of the eyes right here to puff and to puff out, and there was also a lot of talk, gossiping and lying about the lazy Indians and stuff after they made people sick. And then, they talk about the lazy Indians and everything. So these people are trying to sell this stuff, you know, way back when they sold it, called sleepy eye cream. You know, and there's also the thing where, you know, they go on about there was so much racism and, you know, just the craziness to, you know, from whites against all kinds of cultures, the Asians too, you know, so a lot of Native people have eyes that are look Asian or similar to Asian, and so they you know, they made up anything they possibly could because they were not happy with themselves and the way they looked, so they did what they could to other people and made money off of whatever they could. So there's a lot of sick Native people and they're making money off this crazy sleepy eye cream stuff. And yeah, and I'm glad that, you know, there's nothing out like that out anymore. I went to another spot of something that he had. I saw and I looked, and it was things that white people like, with a thumbs up thing over it, and it was a calendar, which every day of the year on the calendar is a racist joke. So okay, here's a racist joke for the day. Here's a racist joke for the day. Here's a racist joke for the day. I couldn't believe that you know, something like this was being let to be sold, or, you know, or somebody would actually really want to put something like that in their store and sell it. I'd seen a number of things that as I walked through that I zoomed in on, but that was the sleepy eye cream is the one that got me, because I know, you know, that Native people have been made to be sick, and I know that when my father was in the military, he was stationed here in Madison at Truax Field, and then right after that I was born. But anyways, he was sick all the time. His eyes were always swollen here, and he was always sick because this environment wasn't good for him. And he talked about moving, they talked about moving, and then my mom didn't want to move, so she bought a house, so they stayed. So anyways, I mean, she paid cash for it too. She just went and bought it because she didn't want to go, but I don't think she realized how ill it made him. But anyways, his eyes were swollen all the time. And people that are putting this really strange stuff out there, it's all about the money. They don't care if what they're doing is fraudulent, or if it's hurting somebody, or if it's dehumanizing people. They do whatever they can to get their money. And one thing that bothers me is that there's usually some kind of vulgarity or sexism involved. And I many times I've seen really skinny, young, petite, twiggy, skinny young girls that aren't even, you know, they're in their teens, so they're going through their age, into adulthood, but they're little skinny girls in bikinis in the freezing cold, wearing headdresses at these ball games. And it says, and this is being allowed for these young girls to be displayed this way. And these girls are probably thinking, oh, I look beautiful like that. And everybody's praising them without realizing that what's behind this is the dirty old man, the dirty old men, and the money. And teaching the boys that it's okay to be this way to women and girls, and this is how they respect them. And so, you know, I mean, later in life, these girls may look back and they may be hurt and ashamed because they did these things that they got conned into without realizing it, because they were young and they were uneducated within the Native American culture. And it's always been that Native women have been treated as and been portrayed as being these lustrous sexual objects and everything by these dirty-minded people, and it's nothing that way at all. It's just craziness. But anyways, I really appreciated walking through Richie's displays and seeing what all he had to display there. And so I'll show you some videos and things too. And we also had some visit from Barb Munson from the Indian Mascot and Logos Task Force. And it's always nice to see her. Anyways, here we go. Irish red potatoes. Treaty beer. Strange stuff. It's Mr. Yahoo. Thanksgiving holidays. What?